The Paragon apartment building is New Zealand's first purpose-built base-isolated apartment building. And what that represents is a step change in the way that we design residential buildings for seismic resiliency in New Zealand. It's a technology that's been used often around the world in apartment buildings, but it's really only since the Christchurch earthquakes that we've seen the opportunities and the potential for this to be provided. It is using a technology with base isolation that has been available for a number of years, but has generally been confined to hospitals and post-disaster facilities. The difference between seismic base isolated buildings and normal building construction is primarily what happens at grounding. Typically buildings are what we would consider to be fixed in the ground, i.e. the superstructure that's above ground is rigidly connected to the foundations. And therefore, when the ground starts to move as part of an earthquake, the building above is forced to try and keep up with the ground as it starts to move. Where we put in base isolation, what we've introduced is a soft rubber layer, and that layer is able to accommodate very large displacements in a very robust and resilient manner. And that plane of rubber that we have in there is what we call the isolation plane. Everything above that is subject to much lower seismic demands and essentially protected from the ground motion because it's able to move in a lateral manner without passing on any of the fling or deformation that we would normally see. Base isolation represents an opportunity to not only meet the building code minimums, which focus on life safety as a primary goal, but to start looking at the performance of the building for a much wider range of earthquakes, whether they are smaller earthquakes or much larger earthquakes. What we inherently get is that the protection provided by base isolation will make the building much more resilient to larger earthquakes, but at the same time protect the contents and occupants, the building itself, from damage that might occur during small events, such that they remain functional and occupiable when other buildings around them might otherwise be damaged.